Imagine a magnitude 9.0 earthquake tearing through your city, leveling every structure in sight. Now, imagine that earthquake has a face. The ground shatters open, and a biological weapon steps out of the Earth's crust. His head scrapes the stratosphere. His arms stretch 5,000 kilometers across the continent, instantly blocking out the sun. He breathes concentrated fire that turns mountains into glass. His only objective is the absolute destruction of the king of the gods. This is the story of the day Zeus realized he was not invincible. Last episode, Zeus executed a flawless military campaign. He freed the Cyclopes, acquired a nuclear-level weapon called the lightning bolt, and won a brutal 10-year civil war. Therefore, he locked the old regime, the Titans, in a maximum security prison called Tartarus. Zeus sits on his new throne, convinced the war is over and his power is absolute. But he is completely wrong. Ancient sources like Apollodorus recorded the events of this episode as the closest the Greek cosmos ever came to total, irreversible collapse. This episode covers the ultimate boss battle, showing exactly how the new king almost lost his entire empire in a single catastrophic day. Gaia is the earth and she is furious. Zeus imprisoned her children, the Titans, deep underground. Therefore, Gaia realizes Zeus is not acting as a savior to the universe. He is acting as a new dictator. He wears a different crown, but he operates the exact same oppressive regime as his father. As a result, Gaia abandons political negotiations. She abandons alliances. She chooses total, uncompromising destruction. She travels to the lowest point of the universe, the dark abyss of Tartarus. But she does not go there to mount a rescue mission. Instead, she mates with the prison itself. She creates a weapon designed specifically to assassinate Zeus and dismantle his government. His name is Typhon. Typhon is not a typical god or a standard monster. He is an extinction-level event. His physical specifications break all laws of biology. His height reaches the ozone layer. Instead of legs, his lower body consists of two massive, coiled vipers that crush bedrock as he moves. 100 dragon heads sprout from his shoulders, each capable of independent thought and attack. His offensive capabilities are unmatched. He shoots fire, spits corrosive venom, and emits sonic blasts that permanently deafen immortals within a 100-kilometer radius. Typhon climbs out of the ground, bypassing all established defense grids. He charges straight across the continent, heading directly for the capital city of Mount Olympus. And in exactly 5 minutes, the king of the gods will be begging for his life on the battlefield. So, what happens when a biological weapon meets a god? The gods panic. They look down from their fortress, see a 5,000-kilometer-wide monster destroying the landscape, and the royal family instantly breaks rank. They do not hold the line. They run. The gods do not just retreat. They abandon their posts like corrupt politicians fleeing a falling capital. They evacuate the continent entirely and run to Egypt. But Typhon has thermal vision and tracking senses. Therefore, to hide from him, the gods shapeshift into local wildlife. Apollo turns into a crow, Ares turns into a fish, and Aphrodite turns into a cow. It is a complete tactical retreat and a massive political humiliation for the new government. Only two gods stand their ground at the capital: Zeus and Athena. Zeus cannot retreat. If he runs, he loses the throne permanently, and his authority is void. Therefore, he launches a preemptive strike, firing hundreds of lightning bolts at Typhon. The bolts hit their target, causing massive thermal explosions that boil the oceans and vaporize the surrounding terrain. But Typhon simply absorbs the damage. The biological weapon keeps moving forward and forces Zeus into close-quarters combat. The lightning bolt is strictly a ranged weapon. At close range, its explosive radius is a liability. As a result, Typhon physically overwhelms Zeus, pinning the king to the ground. Typhon does not kill Zeus. Gods cannot die. Instead, Typhon systematically disables him. Using razor-sharp claws, Typhon slices open Zeus's arms and legs, manually ripping out the god's tendons. Because gods cannot regenerate stolen body parts, the regime is effectively dead. Zeus is completely paralyzed. His structural support is gone, leaving him a king who cannot walk, strike, or hold a weapon. Typhon takes the severed tendons and hides them in a remote cave in Cilicia. He places a massive half-woman, half-serpent dragon named Delphine, to guard the location. Then, he dumps the paralyzed Zeus in a dark corner of the cave. The coup is successful. Typhon is now the undisputed apex predator of the universe. Zeus is paralyzed. The universe is lost. The only thing that can save the cosmos now is a flute. The empire is finished unless Zeus gets his mobility back immediately. Therefore, Hermes, the god of thieves, and Pan, the god of the wild, execute a highly classified covert rescue operation. They understand that brute force failed, so they rely entirely on stealth. They infiltrate the cave network in Cilicia. Pan uses his specialized pipes to play a calculated acoustic frequency. The music acts as a sedative. It distracts the guard dragon, Delphine, slowing her heart rate and lulling her into a hypnotic state. While the guard is neutralized, Hermes bypasses the internal security and steals the tendons back. They locate Zeus and surgically reinsert the tendons into his arms and legs. This perfectly restores his physical structure and nervous system. Zeus is fully operational again, but more importantly, he is enraged. He summons a chariot pulled by winged horses, grabs a fresh supply of high-yield lightning bolts from Mount Olympus, and launches a second offensive. But this time, Zeus utilizes superior military strategy instead of blind aggression. He attacks Typhon exclusively from the air, maintaining a safe distance to utilize his ranged weapons. Consequently, he forces Typhon north into an area with difficult mountainous terrain. At this exact moment, the Fates, who act as the ultimate agents of universal order, intervene. They run a psychological operation on the monster. They trick Typhon, offering him magical fruit while claiming it will exponentially increase his physical strength. Typhon eats the fruit, but the fruit is highly toxic. It instantly drops his stamina to 0 and cripples his nervous system. Typhon retreats south toward the island of Sicily, desperately trying to cross the sea. Zeus sees the ultimate tactical opportunity. He does not use another lightning bolt. Instead, he uses the environment itself. As Typhon crosses the water, Zeus picks up an entire tectonic plate. He drops millions of metric tons of solid rock directly on top of the weakened monster. This massive rock formation becomes Mount Etna. Typhon is crushed, pinned permanently beneath the Earth's crust. But he is still alive. Therefore, whenever he struggles against the weight, the intense friction and pressure force the mountain to erupt with lava. The biological weapon is permanently neutralized, buried under a continent. Zeus wins the war and returns to Mount Olympus. He is now the undisputed king of the cosmos. But this near-death experience forces a critical change in his governing strategy. Why did this disaster happen? It happened because the universe operates on raw, unchecked power. Chaos breeds monsters. Zeus realizes a fundamental truth about leadership and survival. Brute force wins immediate battles, but structured order is required to sustain a long-term empire. If he relies exclusively on the destructive power of the lightning bolt, someone bigger and stronger will eventually take it from him. He cannot afford to fight a Typhon every century. The math simply does not work in his favor. Therefore, he must fundamentally restructure the government. He establishes Mount Olympus not just as a military fortress, but as a rigid system of law. He divides the universe logically to prevent infighting and delegate responsibility. Zeus manages the sky, atmospheric conditions, and foreign policy. Poseidon manages the sea, naval territories, and global trade routes. Hades manages the underworld, mortality rates, and subterranean resource extraction. Zeus appoints judges to settle disputes. He creates strict rules for mortals regarding hospitality and oaths. He sets up a massive bureaucracy of specialized gods to manage the weather, war, agriculture, commerce, and death. He stops ruling by pure fear and physical dominance. Instead, he starts ruling by institutional authority. He transitions from a violent warlord to a calculating statesman. This is the specific pivotal moment where Greek mythology shifts from a story about the violent forces of nature to a story about the architecture of civilization. The cosmos is finally organized. The protocol is permanently set. Order defeats chaos. The government is stable. The king is secure in his fortress. But beneath the crust of the earth, Gaia is still alive. She analyzes the failure of Typhon. She realizes that single massive monsters eventually fail against organized, strategic military strikes. Therefore, she changes her tactics. She does not build one monster. She builds a decentralized army. She creates the giants. They are a new breed of warrior, heavily armored and biologically immune to god-tier weapons. A god cannot kill a giant. It is a biological impossibility built into their DNA. Next time, the ultimate siege begins. The gods face an unkillable army marching on the capital. But to survive the invasion, the immortal king must break his own established rules. He must recruit a mortal to do the killing for him. Subscribe for the season finale.